Hey everybody, this is chapter 2 of my story, I Know the End. Thank you to everybody who listened to and watched the first one. I appreciate it. And for all the nice things that people reached out to say, it was very encouraging. So this is chapter 2, The Truth, an updated timeline for viewers like you. Have you ever seen a human heart? It looks like a fist wrapped in blood. Patrick Marber, closer. The next 4.5 years find us together, mostly. We break up a few times. I end it once, you end it 5 or 6 times in total. Once for a guy who literally lived across the country. More on him later. Once because you didn't want a boyfriend. You did. You just didn't want it to be me. Once because I kissed someone else. He'll come back around too. Eventually, I decreased the dramatics and you let your guard down a little for me. I think partly because the effort you'd have to extend to find someone else to chase you just didn't seem worth it. To our surprise, we like each other. Not in the starry-eye way I saw you at first, but I'm like blind to your faults and determined to catch you. Not in the resigned, I guess this is fine way you said yes to a date with me. We actually begin to see each other and carve out our own private happiness. What a thrill. What a relief. I told you I loved you for the first time under a blanket in your living room in March of 2010. You didn't say it back, but you smiled, big, and you kissed me hard. You said it back 2 months later, laying in bed, your head on my chest. You must have felt my heart pounding against you the second the words left your mouth. You looked up to see me crying. It was the only time you gently looked at my tears. You smiled, you wiped them away with your thumbs, and you held my face when you kissed me. That's how I knew you meant it. That was the beginning. You called me babe for the next 4 years. Sometimes mister. My heart skipped at both. 3 years later, I proposed. You said yes. You knew then you would never make it to I do. 6 months later, our romantic relationship ended for the last time. You tell me you love me, but you believe things shouldn't be so hard. I beg you to consider couples therapy. I plead with you to give a chance, and you agree for an evening. The next day, you're crying, telling me how you'd made up your mind and you weren't interested in putting any more effort into keeping us together. You know what you want and what you don't. I concede. You tell me you believe you can find someone who is easier to love. I don't believe I will ever let those words go. I hope I'm wrong. That was 7 years ago. For a lot of reasons, we decided to stay friends. We struggled to find our footing and have a rough year or two before we get it down. It happens though. That miracle where everything doesn't hurt all the time takes place, and we're lauded by friends for handling things with such maturity. We hang out all the time. We're both beginning to date again. We've even managed to remain roommates. We're best friends, and all of the work and growth was worth it. Except that isn't the truth. It's not even close. It's what we told most people. Yes, it's the picture we painted. It's what we told each other and ourselves. In the elapsed 7 years since our split, we haven't gone longer than 2 months without having sex. That number still stands, though I guess now actually as a break in the story, it does not. It's been longer than that now. Though we're days away from setting a new record. We are not friends. We have never been. You broke up with your commitment to me, but snuck back in secret to double down on your reliance. You kept what felt good and you washed your hands of the rest. You let me absorb all the impact and watched me survive off the scraps of affection you'd occasionally toss down. Careful never to let me eat from your hand, indifferent seeing me lap them up from the floor. I shrunk into shame. I became the best and worst versions of myself trying to hold on to you. You became more ambitious, more determined, and cold, even cruel at times. You let me keep playing a game you knew I'd never win. You just didn't see the harm in letting me kill myself trying because you were still occasionally having fun. I believed in the lie you spat out when you kind of left me. That one day you saw us getting back together. Well, one day became a few years, then by 40 if neither of us had found someone, until a month ago, after a friend suggested we reconcile, partially in jest, when I asked outright and full of dread if you ever really saw us together in the future. Your voice dripping with pity and condescension. Yikes. Condescension. You said no, not really. You added the caveat that perhaps it would be possible when we were in our late 60s. Not good enough to share your life with, but a little bit better than dying alone. Can you imagine? Can you even fathom telling someone that the only realistic scenario in which they could possibly see themselves with you is if, when their body is used up and their time has run thin, you are the only person who is willing and able? Now, would you believe that person who said that was my very best friend? I couldn't. Those two things can't both be true. Could they? Friend. I tried to become someone you'd be proud to be with. I gave you more of myself than I could afford to lose. But I know the fucking end. And soon, so will you.